Alright, this is John Colo with DiscountJuicers.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and what we're going to do today is compare Omega's two vertical slow juicers against one another. Over on this side we have the Omega VSJ843, which has been out for several years now. It's actually, got to give you guys a disclaimer, it's my personal favorite juicer right now. And then over on this side we have the all-new, just released Omega MMV700. Now, although these machines look fairly similar, they're also a little bit different. So in this episode, I'll be showing you guys the similarities and the differences between these two juicers. And then at the end of this episode, I'll be juicing the exact same amount of produce in each juicer so you guys can see which one will make more yield. In addition, at the end, I'll take some of the machines apart so you can see how much pulp is actually left inside the juicer that you'll have to clean out. And also maybe I'll even check the pulp to see the wetness of the pulp. Alright, so the first thing I like to say, if you guys enjoy my videos and have gained knowledge, information from my videos, I would encourage you to support me and my work by making your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com. Your purchase at DiscountJuicers.com allows me directly to continue to make these educational and many other educational videos on YouTube. So I thank you guys in advance for you guys' support, for those of you guys that will purchase from me, and I thank you guys for those of you guys that have purchased from me in the past. Also, please be aware that we do have a price match policy, so if you do find a lower price any other place, you know, from an authorized retailer, if you do purchase most juice machines from an unauthorized retailer, you may not be getting your warranty, which is actually quite sad. So I want you guys to get your warranty, and I want you guys to get the lowest price, so support me at DiscountJuicers.com. And I'm here to support you, and that's why I make these videos, to show you guys the truth about the juicers instead of saying, hey, get this one, it's the best, or get this one, it's the best. And yes, in some respects, this one's better than that one, but in some respects, that one's better than this one. And in this episode, I hope to share with you guys, you know, some of these things and why this one could be better and why that one might be better. All right? So let's get started. So both these machines are known as vertical single auger juicers. And this is the latest technology in juicers, where there's an auger that's much like an old-fashioned meat grinder that you might have to hand crank that your grandma might used to have. And the augers run vertically, and you put the produce in there. And one of the things I like about the vertical style machines is that they're literally auto-feeding. You drop the produce in, it basically chunks off pieces of the produce and compresses and squeezes it and grinds it, and basically puts out the juice on one side and puts out the pulp on the other. So both these are vertical machines, and that's pretty much where the similarities end. There's a lot of different design changes, much like you could have a Tesla Model S and a Nissan Leaf, which are both electric cars, but underneath the hood they're a little bit different, and underneath the hood these guys are a little bit different also. So let's get into the direct comparison. I'll start first taking these machines apart, showing you guys the different parts side by side, comparing them, contrasting them, showing you guys my expertise about them. Yeah, let's do it. So actually, the first thing I want to talk about is, although these machines are both, sold by Omega here in the United States, these are both made in Korea. Very important. There are a lot of vertical juicers on the market that may be coming in from China and other places that are not super high quality, and at this point I haven't seen a good one that I could actually recommend. Also, the models from Korea generally have long warranties. So the MMV700 actually has a 10-year warranty, and if you want to up that, and warranty is important to you, you might want to go for the Vsj843 because it actually has a 15-year warranty, right? And the other thing is the color, right? Many people have to coordinate, match their kitchen, all this kind of stuff. The MMV only comes in this silver and black color, which I think looks pretty snazzy. And the Vsj843 comes in a silver and also a red color at this time. Alright, so on with the comparison. As you guys can see, this juicer is a little bit taller. It barely fits under my kitchen cabinets, which are standard 16 inches to slide all the way back in there. This one easily fits. This one's a little bit larger, right? And some people might like things big. I kind of like things small. As long as it works and it's smaller, I'm good with it. Alright, so next thing, the main difference between these two machines, besides a lot of the internal design differences, are the feed chute size. So you guys can see the feed chute size. This is actually a 3-inch wide feed chute over on this side, and this guy's like a 2 2" by 1.5" or so feed chute size, so it's significantly smaller. Also on this, the VSJ, the funnel is actually non-detachable. You can't detach this. This is all one piece. I kind of like that because when I'm done and I put it on my drain rack, I just put it upside down. On the Omega MMV700, you know, once again, I can put it on my drain rack upside down to dry. But this funnel is actually removable. So some people might like that. I kind of like, it doesn't really bother me either way. I kind of like the stationary one. And the other thing is, let's look at the funnel size. So the funnel size, as you guys can see, funnel size a lot larger on the Omega MMV than on the VSJ843. Although the VSJ843 actually has a bigger, taller lip on it than the MMV700. Underneath, you guys can see there's a difference in shape of these. Basically, this one's flat, so that encourages things to go right into the juicer and get juiced up. And due to the shape of the auger on the MMV, this is kind of a, you know, a cone shape on the inside, which I've noticed that, you know, produce will get stuck on the top without actually being fed in. So this may hurt your yield in the long run, depending on what you're juicing. All right, so those are those two pieces. Next, we're going to go ahead and pull out the augers on each one. Now, both these augers are made out of the GE Ultim material that are 8 times stronger than augers on previous machines. And this is how they look. Of course, these guys are different. And, you know, some of the differences are good, some of the differences are bad. Let's start with the similarities. Underneath the bottom, both of them have recessed auger style. So that means I can get my finger in there and put it in, and I can use my finger to get the pulp out from when I'm done juicing. And same thing on this one. This one probably has a little bit more recess than the Omega MMV. Now, the reason why the recess is super important, and you really probably shouldn't get a juicer without a recess in this day and age, is because the recess underneath the auger acts as a strain relief. You know, these juicers, sometimes when it gets blocked up, the pulp, instead of being coming out the ejection port, it'll kind of go underneath here. That'll kind of relieve some of the back pressure, some of the strain. And on some of the flat unit juicers, single auger vertical juicers, in the past, it would basically jack up the whole housing, which would make it extremely difficult, if not almost impossible, to get your machine apart. So that's why I like these style machines. These style are the latest design. In addition, there's other machines that also have this design, but they're actually far and few in between. The other thing about these augers is the top is the difference. So this one kind of comes up like a cone shape at the top, and this is basically due to the larger feed chute size. They have to have this auger shape, which basically you put the produce in and it basically rotates and crushes and squeezes out the produce, which is good. But, you know, if we're talking about better, let's talk about the VSJ843. In my opinion, this basically has two blade-like appendages, and they're not really blades because I'm running my finger along this and I can't really cut my finger. But this is strong enough to basically take a piece of carrot or celery and, you know, gently cut it up. Now it kind of does. That's a blunt cut. It's not a full cut. But this generally tends to help the machine cut and then start squeezing the produce, whereas this one basically just 100% squeezes the produce. Next, let's go ahead and take out the juicing screens. The juicing screens, you know, a little bit similar, but also a little bit different. First, you'll notice the color is different. This is kind of like yellowish, and this is like a dark gray, black, brown color. And let's see, if we look at the screens, this one's actually open on the bottom, so this makes it a lot easier to clean, get in there to clean, and this one actually is closed on the bottom. In addition, the MMV700 actually has the little hole at the bottom. So this little hole is where all the pulp needs to come out before it can be ejected from the machine, whereas this screen, it doesn't actually have to go through a hole in the screen to come out. In addition, this has the silicone seal at the bottom of the screen, whereas there's no seal inside this screen here. Looking at the hole sizes or the pore sizes on the screens, it looks like to me that the Omega MMV actually has a smaller hole size. So this may mean you might get less pulp in your juice, but it also may mean you're not going to get as much yield. The Omega VSJ843 has larger holes on the first stage screen and probably a little bit larger on the second stage screen as well. And then as to cleaning these screens, basically the VSJ is going to be easier to clean because you can kind of get in there and it's a little bit more compact and smaller, and the MMV screen a little bit more difficult to clean. inside there. Now the MMV700 comes with 3 different cleaning brushes. It comes with a standard toothbrush cleaning brush, which is what the VSJ comes with. It also comes with a screen cleaning tool, which you put on the whole outside of the screen and clean it. It also comes with a bottle brush for some of the nooks and crannies of the juicer. In addition, on this screen, basically you put it in almost any direction. On this one, you actually has a little red dot you actually have to line up. Next, let's take a look at the wiping blades. These wiping blades are fairly similar. Both these actually have 2 blanks. The blanks are basically just a solid plastic that looks like it kind of wipes, and it kind of does to an extent. But there's actually 2 silicone flaps on both these blades. This one happens to be red, so it's kind of more stylish. If you have red hair, this will match your red hair. And then this one doesn't. Now the other main difference between these guys is on the bottoms. I don't know if you guys can see that, but on this one there's all these little like teeth or gearing teeth, right? And that's how this wiping blade spins, is because of these gearing teeth on the bottom. Whereas on the Vsj843 there's no gearing teeth. So I prefer this because it takes off, you know, another 5 seconds, 10 seconds to clean. I don't have to brush the gearing teeth because there are none in juice, and pulp can get stuck in there. Instead, the VSJ, how this works is that the top of the auger has 2 little cutouts that actually go into the top of the wiping blade that actually turn it at the same time the auger is spinning. So I kind of prefer this one personally. Lastly, let's take a look at the main juicing bowl on both machines. All right, this one's marked up to 450 milliliters and this one's marked up to 400 milliliters, so this one probably could hold a little bit more. That being said, I do not recommend mixing in the juicing bowl, which both these guys can do because they have a pulp flap on here, or a juice flap that'll actually keep the juice inside. If you do block that and let the juice accumulate on the inside, I noticed the pulp does get a little bit wetter, so you're losing a little bit of yield. I do have to say that on the MMV, I do like the flap. It's a little more heavy duty and solid, and the one on the VSJ tends to be a little more, you know, delicate, let's put it that way. I do like the ejection port. Looking at the ejection ports, that's this guy right here and this guy right here where the pulp comes out. I do like it actually on the Vsj843 a little better because it's a bit larger. I could get my finger in there when cleaning to like get the pulp out with my finger instead of having to use the back side of the oversized toothbrush cleaning tool. Whereas on the MMV, you know, I could get my pinky barely in there, but it's a little bit tighter fit. So I find that also this one tends to jam up a little bit less when juicing. Looking at the bottom of the bowl, let's see, this one has no silicone gasket, and the VSJ does. And that's because the gasket is actually in the juicing screen. You know, I've actually found that the gasket in the juicing screen usually provides a bit less leakage on top of the motor body housing than the gasket inside the juicing bowl. I know they have improved the gasket inside the juicing bowl from the first run of the VSJ, and so now I rarely have that problem with my new model. And if you buy a Vsj843 from Discount Juicers, we have the latest model with all the latest upgrades, including the new black silicone seal right here. Let's see, then on this one, actually, there's a little gear that spins. So this gear that spins is what drives the wiping blade. And that's run by basically this bottom piece that, as the motor spins, it spins this bottom piece, and that spins the little gear. So this little gear is a part that potentially could fail, although I haven't seen it fail on this model yet. But the other thing is that pulp and you know, fiber could possibly get stuck in, on, or around the little blades, that the little gear, so that could also make it a little bit harder to clean. Another major difference is on the bottom of the MMV. There is a port where actually all the pulp has to come out through, and there is no flap on there. It's a free-flowing flap, or free-flowing, so it lets all the pulp come out without a flap. So that makes this part easier to clean, and this part is especially easier to clean because you're not going to get a lot of the different pulp residues that you will, because they're all going to be stuck inside the juicing stream, which is kind of a pro. Over on the Vsj843, there is a little flap, and this is my older version, so the flap is actually gray on it. On the newer versions, they're actually black, and actually I think I need to replace this because it's kind of getting torn. But that part is covered under warranty should it fail within 15 years. And so this one should be removed when cleaning, and then when you're juicing, you always want to make sure it's pushed all the way in, because this allows to keep some back pressure on the pulp, and only let the pulp out if it's dry. If the pulp's still wet and can be wrung out, it's going to keep it inside the machine. So for that reason, the VSJ may get more yield than the MMV700. Onto the motor bodies here. Let's see, picking these guys up. Alright, pick that one up, pick this one up. I mean, they're both about the same weight. I can't differentiate between them. Basically, this is a 240 watt motor, and I think this is what, like a 150 watt motor, I believe. Yep, 150 watt. So if you're on solar panels and you're concerned about wattage, this one's going to draw less wattage or less energy, so it's going to save you energy, going to cost you less to use. This one, 240 watts, because it's more wattage. Doesn't necessarily mean it's more powerful, but basically in my testing, this one has more torque overall than the Vsj843. That means when you're juicing carrots, this one will just power through them for the most case. You might have to stop and hit reverse sometimes. This one you're going to have to do that more often than not, unless you use some of the techniques that I share in my video, how to juice like a pro in any vertical slow juicer, which I'll put a link down below, which I would encourage you guys to watch no matter what vertical slow juicer you buy. Also, this one runs at 43 RPM or revolutions per minute, which is a little bit slower than the 60 RPMs over on the MMV700. Do I think that really makes a difference? You know, I don't know. 17 RPMs difference? I don't really think so. I don't think that's a major difference. Will you get done a lot faster in this unit than this one because of the RPM? Probably not. You're probably going to get done faster because of the larger feed chute in many, but not all instances. Alright, so let's go ahead and reassemble these machines, show you guys how to do that. Basically, you take the bowl on the MMV700 Mega Mouth, and you're just going to put that down, and then you're going to take the wiping blade and the juicing screen that just goes right around like that. You're going to take the little red dot here, line up the red dot here, drops into place, and you can take the auger. The auger kind of just drops right into place, and it'll fully seat down in there. And then you're going to take the top housing, there's a little red dot, you're going to line up with the red dot on the top here, and you're going to rotate that to the closed position, and you're all set, ready to go. We can turn this on. If you got it assembled correctly, it'll turn on. It's a nice deep motor roar. Over on the Vsj843, once again, take the bowl, drop that down on there, and we're going to take the wiping blade, put that on the juicing screen, and that just drops in, no red dots. You basically just drop it in there and rotate it till it seats. Take the auger, drop that in there, make sure the auger tips go down into the wiping blade cutouts, and then take your top, there's a little arrow, you're going to offset to the orange arrow, and then you're going to turn it to line it up, and if you did that correctly, this machine will turn on. So I don't know if you guys could hear that, right? That guy's running. You guys could hear it, it's like pretty silent. You could turn this on. It's a little bit noisier, so if you want the juicer that's the quietest, then maybe you're going to want to go with the Vsj843. Alright, so next what I want to do is I want to go ahead and bring in the produce, and we're going to get juicing to find out which one of these two juicers will yield more juice. Alright, so now we're ready for the weigh-in. I got the juicer set up, ready to juice, and I got all the produce weighed out methodically to even amounts. We got tomatoes, celery, romaine, carrots, and an apple. So let me go ahead and do the weigh-in to make sure we have a fair fight. Alright, let's check out the scales. You guys can see that good produce, mostly all organic. Let's see, you got 1,316 grams over on the Vsj843 side, and 1,316 grams over on the MMV700 side. So yes, looks like we have a fair fight. Alright, so now we're ready to juice. Let's go ahead and move these scales out of the way and get set up. And one of the things I want to do for you guys, besides juicing the exact same amount of produce, I'm also going to be timing this for you guys with the stopwatch app on my iPhone here to show you guys actually how long it takes to juice in each one. You know, although this has a nice 3-inch wide feed chute and you can drop things in like whole apples and tomatoes and beets and big diameter carrots, you know, sometimes the motor torque may not be strong enough and it may stop, so you have to hit the reverse switch. That's not going to really happen on fruits. For juicing something like watermelon, cantaloupes, honeydew melons, things that you got to cut up anyways to fit in, you could cut them up into nice large pieces, so that's going to definitely save you guys some time. But on things like leafy greens, kale, collard greens, even the romaine, you know, and especially things like the celery, I do recommend you guys pre-cut it into 1/8-inch pieces for optimal results, right? And the other thing I want to mention, you guys, is when you're using a vertical slow juicer, I don't want you guys to use a pusher. You want to throw that pusher away, right? The only reason you should use your pusher is if something gets jammed or stuck into the feed chute. And in the case of the Omega MMV, there is a little safety blade that will not let large things go down without you having to push it in, either with something like a carrot or with the pusher. So for that reason, it's okay to use a pusher. But if you're trying to like push each and everything in like you have to do on a centrifugal ejection machine, you're probably going to be pushing things too fast into the machine, which is going to make it run through the machine faster, which is going to probably lower your yields and increase the percentage that you're going to clog up and jam the machine. So please just drop things in. The other thing that's super important is you want to rotate the produce you're putting in. I'm not just going to simply put in all the carrots, then all the lettuce, all the celery, then apple, and then all the tomatoes. I'm going to put in maybe a tomato, a handful of celery, some greens, a carrot, and then I'm just going to rotate all the way through, all right? So those are some really important points to consider. Let's go ahead and move this guy out of the way here. So I'm going to go ahead and start the timer. I'm going to take out, as soon as I start the timer, I'm going to turn the juicer on. I'm going to start pre-cutting the produce. I'm just going to start dropping it in. And we're probably just going to do this fast forward motion style so you guys can see just the whole process. And then we're going to come back at you when I'm about done. So, okay, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so we're just about done juicing in the Omega Megamouth Slow Juicer MMV700. We got basically everything put through there. I kind of rotated it, and we got 1 carrot left. Oh man, and I forgot to hit the start on my stopwatch. Alright, so anyways, today we don't have the time on the MMV. We'll time it on the VSJ, but that being said, the MMV will probably save you a little bit of time, or a lot of time, depending on what specifically you're juicing. I mean, I'm still going to have to cut up the celery in this guy, and this went pretty quick. Now, the last thing to remember is once you put the last produce item into the juicer, you're going to want to let it run a little bit longer and not just turn it off immediately. As you guys can see, the pulp is still kind of coming out of the juicer, and you're going to let it keep running until the pulp stops. When the pulp stops running, that's your sign, that it's probably done juicing whatever it's going to juice. And in the MMV, you will always see some leftover pulp stuff that probably didn't get ejected in the machine. And that's just kind of like how it is. That's one of the cons to the wide feed chute style. Alright, looks like the pulp is pretty much stopped. The juice is stopped. We're going to go ahead and turn that baby off. And now we're going to focus our attention over to the Vsj843. Alright, so let's go ahead and move this produce over a little bit, and let's move our stopwatch over. Let's make sure I hit it this time. Alright, so we're going to hit it, and I'm just going to get started. Alright, hit it, let's get started. Alright, so we're just about done juicing in the Omega VSJ843. As you guys can see, I'm putting the last of the celery in here. And we got the last of the carrots. Based on the VSJ, we have to cut like basically everything. Even the carrots didn't fit, so I have to cut slices off the side so they would fit. On the MMV Megamouth Slow Juicer, only had to cut the celery. The romaine was good enough. I just broke it up into chunks. And finally, the last thing you always want to feed into a vertical slow juicer is a carrot last. On the VSJ did not stop up on me today while juicing, so that was really good. I kind of paid attention while I was juicing to not put things in too quickly. And that's what I think, one of the big things about the wide feed chute is it may encourage you guys to feed things in too quickly. The smaller feed chute will slow you down so that actually you don't feed things in too quickly, right? Alright, so I think this is about done juicing. I think the pulp is pretty much stopped, and what are we at on the time? We're at about 5 minutes on the time, even Steven. I mean, I think that on the MMV 700, it would have took less time. How much? What? I don't know, 30 seconds less, maybe? So you would have definitely saved some time, maybe 10% of the time savings. Next, let's go ahead and turn these two machines off, and let's check out the pulp that was generated by both machines here. Vsj843 Pulp and MMV700 Pulp. Alright, so interesting thing is if we look at the bottom, because I juiced tomatoes first, you can see on the VSJ there's some tomatoes and it looks like it extracted the juice fairly well, but on the MMV, if we look at the bottom there, it looks like there's like, okay, yeah, there's the pulp, but the pulp still looks fairly wet underneath there. Next, let's go ahead and take the two pulps here. Pulp from the VSJ, squeeze it. Yeah, I mean, still wet. You could take the pulp and actually run it back through the machine to get a further extraction if you wanted. And then a pulp over on the MMV. I mean, it's still wet. I couldn't say one significantly more or less wet than the other. They're both, you know, still fairly wet, but both machines did a fairly good job. Next, I want to show you guys, before we do the yields, we're going to go ahead and put the spout cap down, put these to the side. But I want to show you guys actually what cleanup entails once you're done. So once you're done with the Vsj843, you're just going to remove this top funnel piece, and look at that. Underneath there, there's virtually nothing to clean. You could run this under hot water like I do in your sink. Everything will dislodge. Next, we could go ahead and remove this auger underneath here. Look at this auger. I mean, I didn't even pour water in here to kind of make it cleaner. I mean, this is like almost auto-cleaning by itself. There's not a lot of pulp stuck in here on the auger to clean afterwards. Of course, your results may vary depending on what you're juicing. Of course, underneath the auger, yes, there is some stuff underneath there, and I like to just take my finger, scoop it out, and I'll put it in the pulp bin. And everything that I make, all the pulp goes into my compost pile. Next, let's go ahead and take out the juicing screen. So inside the VSJ juicing screen, you guys can see, yeah, there's some pulp in there. So normally I'll take my finger and just wipe it down like this and get the pulp out and put it in the pulp catch cup or in my composter, and then I'll take the wiping blade off, and then I'll basically scrub this down with a cleaning brush. And then finally we have that juicing bowl in here, and as you guys can see, you know, there's a little bit of pulp at the bottom, but it's fairly clean overall. So yeah, you guys can see that on the VSJ, you know, wasn't too hard to clean, and that's why I rate the VSJ the easiest vertical slow juicer to clean, and that's one of the main reasons why I use it. Just because it only takes me like 3 minutes to clean, right? Super simple. Alright, different story on the MMV700. Let's go ahead and take this guy apart. So, on this part here, let's go ahead and show you guys the difference. You guys can see all the pulp is stuck in there on the bottom of this guy, right? There's like virtually nothing. So that means you're going to have to scoop this out, wash it down your sink, you know, do something with it. Next, let's take a look at the auger here. So as we're pulling this out, there's like pulp still stuck on the top here of the auger that actually didn't go into the machine. And let's pull this auger out. So as you guys can see, the auger, you know, significantly more pulp on there you're going to have to actually clean off. And if there's more pulp in the auger and it didn't actually go through the machine, that means it didn't get juiced. So the yield may be affected as well. In addition, inside the juicing screen, you guys can see there's lots of extra pulp in there. And even, you know, so much that there's like a little chunk of carrot that didn't get juiced. In the VSJ, that simply just did not happen. In addition, if we do a close-up on the screens, which I'll do for you guys, if I could get this guy out with one hand. It can be a bit challenging here, because I want to show you this. This is important. On the VSJ screen, there's very little ground-in pulp, right? On the MMV screen, there's more ground-in pulp. So what does this mean? This means that it's going to take you a lot more time to get the ground-in pulp that's literally stuck in the holes of the screen. And for some reason, the Vsj843 screen, this does not happen. And I've noticed that. That's another reason why I like the VSJ screen, because it doesn't seem to get impacted with all the pulp like other brands of juicers can. Finally, the bowl, right? I will have to say the bowl is a little bit easier to clean, and then the VSJ, you guys can see there's more pulp in this one than this one, but that's because the cleaning the screen is going to be a bit harder, right? So yeah, that's pretty much the cleaning. So as you guys can see, although it took us maybe 30 seconds less to juice in the MMV, I believe the cleaning time will definitely take you longer than that, so you're probably going to be at a wash for time. Now, if you're juicing large volumes, this may change, because, you know, the cleaning time is set, but your juicing time may change dependent on, you know, how much you're juicing. These machines both have a 30-minute duty cycle, so what that means is you shouldn't run the juicer for more than 30 minutes. If you do run it for 30 minutes, I do encourage you to turn it off, stop, let it rest, let it cool down, and then get back to juicing. Maybe let it rest at least 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes would be best. So I have juiced with both these juicers for longer than 30 minutes, which I don't recommend, and neither does the Rain manufacturer, but sometimes I just gotta juice a lot of stuff. And I will say that the MMV will tend to shut down due to the overheat built-in protection before the VSJ843 will. Alright, last thing I want to get into is actually the comparison of how much each one of these juicers made, as well as the pulp. So first we'll deal with the pulp. Both these machines, we had the same exact sieve on here. And let's go ahead and shake this sieve down a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I think we definitely have a clear winner on the sieve here. Basically on the sieve, looks like to me that the MMV definitely made more pulp that was caught in the sieve than the VSJ843. And now we're going to go ahead and line these guys up, and we're going to give you guys a close-ups on the yield. Alright, let's go ahead and do a close-up on the juices that were created over on the VSJ843 side. Looks like we have about a line over the 800 milliliter mark, and then over on the MMV700 side, I mean, it looks like we're just about at 800, right? We're not over it, so yeah, it looks like the VSJ made just a tad bit more juice, not much at all. Alright, so you guys just saw that the VSJ843 made like that much more juice. I mean, 1% more, 2% more, it's barely anything. But what I want to do next is, because the sieve I use today does have actually a nice larger hole size, that will leave some particles in the juice. So I do want to give you guys, you know, my taste test to see what they taste like. We're going to go ahead and stir these guys up. Now please be aware, when you do juice something like tomatoes, right, it will make your juice a little bit thicker, because the tomatoes are, you know, are a thicker kind of produce item. Alright, so we stirred those guys up, even Steven. Maybe I'll try the VSJ843 juice first. Just try a little bit. Alright, so that's good. I feel a tad bit of mouthfeel, so a little bit of a grittiness or pulp in there. Let's do the MMV juice here. And, you know, pay attention, I am pouring off the top, so at the bottom, that's where a lot of the pulp will settle. That's where you get a lot more of it. So I taste a tad bit more pulp. So if you wanted less pulp in the juice, you'd want to use a finer sieve with smaller hole size. And I do believe that the MMV700 will put more pulp in the juice. Nonetheless, both juicers made amazing juices. They run at virtually the same RPM. You're going to get virtually the same quality juice. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention is that the VSJ843 at present time is $50 less than the MMV700, right? So that may be a price consideration for you guys as well. Some of you guys may be price conscious. So now what I want to do is actually I want to go ahead and declare the winner of this juice off comparison today. These are always tough when, you know, the yields are just so close. I mean, one or the other could beat the other one depending on what you're juicing, right? And so close, so difficult. But I think I'm going to have to declare the winner of this juice off, the Omega VSJ843, all right? Here's my reasoning. Number one, it made more juice, hands down, by like that much, hardly any, I will admit that. Number two, it actually cost $50 less, which is important for many people. I would rather you guys have that, put that $50 that you would spend for this into like planting a garden in your yard, so you can actually have free produce to juice, and then you won't be so concerned about the yields. All right. The other thing I like about the VSJ843 is that it has a 5-year longer warranty. So now you're paying $50 less, and you're getting 5 extra years, so a 15-year long warranty on the Omega VSJ. So literally, you probably won't have to buy another juicer for the rest of your life, right? So that's another good feature. And then let's see. I mean, the cleaning, as you guys saw when I went through all the different parts, right? The VSJ is going to be way easier to clean. I know a lot of you guys hate the juicer cleaning. I actually don't mind it in the VSJ because it is so quick and easy and simple. And on the MMV, you guys saw that on the screen. There's, you know, bits that are going to have to be scraped out and all this kind of stuff. And also in the MMV, there's actually more pulp left in the chamber and in the top housing there, which may mean you're losing yield. So if all that got into the juice, maybe the MMV Megamouth would have actually gotten more yield. Now this is a little bit interesting. You know, I stirred these up at the same time, and I don't know if you guys could see that, but in this machine, from the MMV Megamouth, it's already separated a little bit more than in the VSJ843, and that's just you know, one of the observations. In addition, I personally like, which you may or may not, I like less pulp in my juice. So the VSJ actually put less pulp in the juice from our sieve test, and also a little less grit from my taste test. And then I think, and then probably the thing is, the MMV would have took me less time to juice probably if I did time it. It probably would have saved me 30 seconds, as I said before. So, you know, each juicer has their own pros and cons. Hopefully in this episode, you guys have learned some of the pros and cons of each of these machines, so now that you guys could be empowered as a consumer to make the right purchase decision for you. I know a lot of people just like, oh, wide mouth, it's better, I go for it. And yeah, okay, yeah, you could go for it. You're going to save some time during the juicing process on certain produce items, but on the cleanup, maybe a little bit more difficult, and you may be sacrificing some yield. But, you know, hey, everybody's a little bit different, you know, and that's why I make these videos, so you guys can know the truth instead of just the manufacturer saying this or that, or buy our juicer or whatever. I show you guys what really happens, and hopefully you guys have appreciated this video and have learned from it at the same time. And if you did appreciate it, I would encourage you once again to support me by making your juicer purchase at discountjuicers.com. That allows me to continue to make these educational videos, get my hands dirty, and you know, enables me to actually make more juice. So actually I drink more juice in my life as well, because I'm a lifer juicer. I juice for life. And I believe that if you guys started juicing each and every day, especially juice for breakfast, you know, one of the easiest meals to take away, you know, right when you wake up, make a fresh juice like one of these that I've made today. Drink as much fresh juice as you want for breakfast, and you know, in a month's time you will be feeling better. You'll have more mental clarity. You'll also be probably losing some weight, as many of my customers in the past have reported to me. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this episode, and thank you guys for supporting me. If you guys enjoyed this episode and want more videos with the Omega MMV compared to other juicers in the future, hey, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Also be sure to share this video with somebody else that may be considering a wide mouth or standard Omega juicer, so that they can learn the truth about these two machines as well. Also be sure to click that subscribe button right down below to be notified of my new and upcoming episodes. I'm coming out about every 5 to 7 days on this YouTube channel. You never know what new juicers, vacuum blenders, or even dehydrator technology that I'll be testing and sharing with you guys. Also be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 500 episodes on this channel at this time, dedicated to teach you guys all aspects of appliances such as juicers, blenders, dehydrators that allow you to get more fresh fruits and vegetables in you. So with that, my name is John Kohler with DiscountJuicers.com. Be sure to visit DiscountJuicers.com/YouTube for special promotional offers for our YouTube visitors.